everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we just spend a little bit of time talking about superlatives in the month of February. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I love talking about superlatives. Is that how you say that word?
Yes. No.
We're not
that's
talking
fine.
about being super late, Ted. I know it's super late where I am.
I know. It's actually so late, it's early. I feel like that's a song somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like,
We'll talk about our super not late patrons.
I know. You know what they do is they pledge precisely when a patron means to. So thank you to all our patrons who give at a lot of different levels, and it's because of the patrons that we are able to do the awesome things that we do. Like, part of Superlative February is us giving away APs and swag, and we even have a custom set of tokens that we're going to be giving away. So there's all sorts of neat things that we do, and it's because of the patrons. And patrons automatically get put into the list to be given stuff. So if you're a patron, that's one thing that you get. So thank you to all the patrons. And if you want to become a patron, just join here at patreon.com/cardtalk2018. And the list of patrons is going to be Alex, Brandon, Carl, Daniel, David, Edmund, Jake, James, Jason, Joe, Joseph, Joshua, Justin, Kyle, Lewis, Matt, Mike, Dominic, Niall, Peter, Phil, Reagan, Robert, Russ, Scott, Sean, and Vardane. I figured the last couple of times I've read the list, I tried to do it all in one breath, so I didn't want to scare you guys, so I was going to do it a little slower this time. Plus,
Thank you. We're less concerned about your safety.
Plus, I think it's important to give all our patrons a little bit of airtime, because they are so important to what we do.
A little bit of air.
Yeah, a little bit of air time.
Yeah, but people, if you want to see David go purple in the face, everybody subscribe for $1. That is on the Patreon,
right,
who is subscribed to our channel, and David will try and get through them in one breath.
Right. Pick a month. Everybody pick a month, and I will try to get through them all in one breath. So, you guys. So you guys know that this is
new patrons. It's Ted, Bed, Schmed, Red,
Schmeddy, Freddie,
Ted,
Betty, Meddy,
Ted with 1D, Ted with 2Ds, Ted with 3Ds.
right. Ted, right, and then Grant and Frant and Brant and Trant and Morant. Right, that would be wild. I see an April Fool's episode coming up. Anyways.
Well, then, we're talking about superlatives, right?
Yeah, we are.
And so from our extravaganza survey month that we distributed to the community.
I know. And Ted, that survey had 130 responses. It was totally crazy. I was so super humbled when it came back and 130 people did it. It just goes to show you how active this community is and how awesome it is. And I had said for the survey that I wanted to honor the game by not by us telling you what you think, not by us telling you what we think, but by you telling us what you think. And so, having a survey like this really helps. I don't know, it really gives you insight into how awesome the community is and how diverse it is in terms of how they play, what they find fun, what they want to get rid of, and things like that. So what we do is there's 4 weeks in February, and we're focusing each week on a specific sphere. So we're here in the middle of this week talking about the spirit sphere. And last episode, we talked about spirit heroes. And so as per the pattern, this episode we'll talk about Spirit allies. So, let's get started. I think this is what I'm going to think. So anybody following along at home, you know that I like ask the question and then I give it to the guys and the guys try to figure out what they think is going on. I think that this is going to be the hardest one for you guys to guess. I know that the other 3 leadership attachments were a challenge other than Steward of Gondor, but I think that this one is going to be the most challenging. I don't know. I maybe not. I don't know, but I just think it is. So you guys ready to make some guesses?
Nope.
We are ready.
Grant says no. Ted says yes. Okay, great. So Grant, you guys always like to start with your favorites. So here's what we'll do. We'll alternate. We'll do 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 until we get all 4. So favorite allies. Okay, favorite allies, which I think. Well, I don't know. I just think it's
Arwen.
Arwen, number 2. Okay, Ted, favorite
Galleon.
allies. Galleon, for real?
Yeah.
Galleon.
Yeah.
I don't think made the list. So
People love Sylvans.
they
but
do
the
love
survey,
Sylvans.
I keep guessing that, and I'm wrong like 1,000 times. So I guess I'm going to stop doing it.
I think like Handmaiden made the list. That's a spirit ally, but that's not. It didn't make it. It was like 1 or 2. Galleon wasn't even mentioned. Okay, Grant, bring us back to normalcy, please.
Northern Tracker.
That's number 1 on the list. Northern Tracker, favorite ally. Okay, Ted.
Glorfindel.
Number 3 on the list. Good job. Okay, Grant. I'm sure you'll get this. I think you'll get it rather than maybe Ted will get it. Ted and I talk about this sometimes. You and I haven't talked about this much, but
I'm going to say Jabbar.
yes, good job, Grant. That's the top 4. That was crazy.
We did it.
Yeah, wow. But Grant got 3 of them. So he carried you. He carried the load.
Get it right. Share the load.
I know, but you didn't share the load. You just carried him.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if I can't carry the ring, I'll carry you.
Oh God.
Here, ready? Cut.
Oh, Sam, I can't recall the taste of food. Nor the sound of water. The touch of grass. I'm naked in the dark. There's nothing. No veil between me and the wheel of fire. I can see him with my waking eyes. Then let us be rid of it. Once and for all. Come on, Mr. Frodo. I can't carry it for you. But I can carry you.
And that was the theatric release of that scene in The Lord of the Rings. So
Hard talk reenactment.
yeah, no, I'll actually edit it into there and I'll put it in there and then it'll be fine. So you get to see how close I was to the actual quote. I don't think I was very close. Okay.
Close enough.
So, Ted, what do you think about these favorite allies?
Yeah,
Tracker,
there's
Arwen,
a lot
Glorfindel,
of them.
Jabbar.
And I think we have a little bit of a bleed because I think Northern Trackers, when we get to our best, is going to be over there. I'm surprised some of the more fun ones. I'm surprised like Galleon. You said wasn't on there. Is Stargazer on there for people's favorites?
Stargazer made the list. Let me see exactly where. And there were a lot of them. Okay, like there was a lot of them that kind of made the made the list. Stargazer was like right below. Like 5 people said Stargazer.
Is Elfhelm on the list?
Elfhelm is not on the list.
That's surprising considering his ability is so strong.
Wait. Yeah, no. Escort from Eteros made the list, though. Somebody must have listened to that show. But it's funny because when you see the results, I get like a bar graph. Like there's like 3 really tall peaks. And it's, it's Northern Tracker, it's Glorfindel, and it's Arwen. And then everything else is small. We had a couple of Wild Stallions. We had a couple.
Bilbo Baggins?
Bilbo was on there. Bilbo, 1, 2, 3. Bilbo was on there 3 times.
Small.
Bofer was on there a couple times.
Bofer.
But it's just funny because it's really spread out.
Yeah.
But then when you get down to the best spirit allies, there's a lot less that are on that list.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is
I
thought
it's funny
where
because
we would see
Elfhelm,
separation.
Elfhelm was mentioned as one of the best allies, but was never mentioned as one of the favorite allies, which is funny because Spirit Elfhelm is kind of a fun, has that fun thing that he does. I don't know. But who knows?
Yeah, he's actually he's on my list of like potential MOTK heroes.
Yeah. Sure. And then
There's
there's
to have him start and play with that ability.
Right. And then in terms of best, it's funny because, then Imladris Stargazer just jumps right off the list. One person's like, Imladris Stargazer, whatever. So
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. She's on the list. So, speaking of bests, let's talk about the best spirit ally. So now we switch gears, and Ted, you already said one of your guesses. Do you want to stick to it? The Northern Tracker.
Northern Tracker is going to be up there as far as the best, also.
Yeah, so Northern Tracker was second on the list of best. So with 18. And then what's the best spirit hero though? And again, it's always there's always like a clear number one. It seems like when I ask the community,
it's going to be Arwen Mdomiel.
Yeah, Arwen Mdomiel is number 1.
She's her ability, like cost for stats, and then that ability on top of it to grant +1 and Sentinel to any character, and all she has to do is exhaust.
Right?
Like what?
I know, it's totally wild. But then there's 2 more on the list. And one of them just popped out of nowhere. And I couldn't believe it. And then when I thought about it, I was like, oh, well, okay. So Grant, do you have any best spirit allies that aren't there?
Sulian?
Nope. Sulian was mentioned, but not on the list. Actually, Sulian was not mentioned at all.
That's surprising considering Sulian's ability is actually quite powerful.
I know.
I think in the same vein of Northern Tracker, I'm going to say Ravanian Outrider.
Nobody said Ravanian Outrider.
I'm going to go for the Rider of Rohan.
Nobody said Rider of Rohan. It's so crazy, isn't it? Like,
yeah, these are all, I think, some solid picks.
I like the Ravanian Outrider.
Oh, probably Aether Swordsman.
Oh my God, that's right. How did you get that?
I forgot.
I didn't even think about it, and then I'm thinking, oh yeah, like when you need willpower, you put Aether Swordsman in there. I use him in my Dine in the Discard deck, and I bring him out into play, and then I put Squire's Helm on him, and I have questing taken care of. You get 3 of them out, and you have, 12.
I think as far as Outland traded allies go, they're one of the I think they're the really only standalone. Like you can play them by themselves in a non-Outlands deck, and their ability stands.
Oh yeah.
The other Outlands allies, I don't really think are worth it, but the swordsmen are.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and this isn't for this show, but like it would be interesting to do like just a show on building that Outlands deck and why the Ether Swordsman can stand alone when you need allies like questing, but then you can't put like the Warrior of Lossnark in a deck because even though you're boosting defense, it's probably because you already are defending somewhere, so. Yeah. I don't know. Like it's just
Warrior of Lossnarks that only have 1 hit point,
right?
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
It's always good. The Ether Swordsman is good because you can like questing for 1 isn't. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's all right, and you're probably not going to lose an Ether Swordsman, especially if you're running Spirit because you have to run the Ether Swordsman. But you're probably going to have Test of Will and Hasty Strokes and things that are going to be able to do some cancellation for you. So that being in Sphere is really good. So yeah, so that was super surprising to me that that Ether Swordsman made the list and Jabir got pushed off the list. Like Jabir is such a good Spirit ally. Like how can Jabir not be on this list? Maybe it suffers from being released late. I don't know. What are your thoughts on all this, Grant? You're not Grant, Ted.
I'm not Grant though. I can't answer that question.
You're not, and you can't even be mad.
I think it just reflects on how the community plays.
Yeah.
More than anything else. Obviously, Jabir is a phenomenal defender, and with that ability to cancel shadows, he has seen a lot of overuse in the community. So maybe they know he's a good hero, but maybe they just aren't playing him because he's that overused.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I can't speak for the community because, like
Sure.
I say, I enjoy playing them. So,
yeah, I mean that's the thing. And he's one of those hero allies again that if you haven't played him, get him on the table and play him because he's just really good.
Yeah,
really
well, I think
good.
it's cost.
Yeah,
a lot to do with it because you cards at a high cost that you're less likely to put on the table, right? Because you got to kind of like build for that.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Well, the other one that was on the list we talked about was Glorfindel, which is nice. Ally Glorfindel, you can play from your discard pile, and that's
very strong ability.
Yeah, that's just really awesome. Which is also super thematic because he killed all those Balrogs in the first age, and went up against. I think he went up against Gothmog and did all sorts of crazy. My first age. I don't know. My first age stuff is a little off, but.
A very much quick sidebar, but if anyone's a fan of Stephen Colbert and his rants, unspoken rants, he recently did one around the time of this recording, and it was on Glorfindel.
I know. He went off on his political rant about the current state of politics in the United States, and then at the very end of it, he went like 3 minutes on, you want to get into some culture? Get into nerd culture. Talk about Glorfindel in the first age and how he beat all the Balrog. It was hysterical. It was really good, and I think that it's funny no matter what. Like, if you're deep into politics in the United States, like one way or the other, like I think it's funny regardless. But I don't know. Maybe not. Stephen Colbert is routinely a more liberal guy, but his thing on the Balrog was really fun.
Yeah, I think regardless of where you stand, the Balrog rant is great. It's very recent.
Yeah, and he's a genuine Lord of the Rings fan. Like I want to kind of reach out to him and ask him if he would be on the show, just as see if I get anywhere. But
we'll send him See if we'll send him a core set, maybe, if he
Yeah.
hasn't played.
I know. I maybe get him into the game. Okay, so here's the thing. So I asked people like what their favorite type of deck was. And if there was 130 people that got this, I got 130 different responses, which again I think is amazing. Actually, I probably only got 115 different responses because everybody just loves such a variety of decks. If you go to like Rings DB, you see a million different types of decks. So
yeah.
I guess the question that I will pose to you guys about this is, what's the favorite kind of deck that you like to play? Ted, what's your favorite type of deck?
Very open-ended question. So
Well, because it could be anything. So just to give you, it was a survey question, so I'll give you an example. Like, so of course you have the trait-specific decks. Somebody said Sylvan, somebody said Gondor, somebody said Traps, somebody said Dale. But then other people said, well, my role, like a support. I like to play support deck. I like
That's
to play
how I'm interpreting the question.
spirit deck. I like to play a large deck. I like to play a multiplayer ranged deck. Somebody said, so interpret it however you want. But what's the kind of deck that you most love to play?
So to kind of, I guess, really answer that question is, I tend to enjoy playing a lot of decks that make sure the group survives. So like decks that have healing, decks that have cancel, being able to combat those things from the encounter deck are really effects. Being able to combat travel effects by mitigating them with cards, like Strider's Path and Thrower's Key, those types of things. I really enjoy to play. But I'm a note on something else I really enjoy to play are decks that are not mine.
Oh, so you're like trolling Rings DB for fun looking decks and.
Yeah, I've only done that actually once or twice, and I should probably do that more with I guess is the way to do that with our digital conventions. Right. But I'll go to when we were allowed to gather as a populace. Sometimes I would just ask people, be like, would you mind borrowing me one of your decks? Not because I didn't bring mine, but because playing someone else's deck there has been times where I haven't had my decks with me, actually, and I had to borrow one because I left them in the hotel room. But playing someone else's deck will give you a different perspective on the game because you said it, right? Everyone gives these different responses. And so if you just take someone's deck, you're going to be like, they're probably going to make some choices that you wouldn't have. And I think people get stuck into people find the cards they like and they tend to repeat those and kind of stay within their little box. If I took Grimbjorn away from Grant, I don't know if he would wither away and die or what.
Well, Grant, that's the perfect question. So what kind of deck do you like to play? What's your favorite?
Well, I like a lot of combat focused decks.
Right.
Anybody that's seen us play lately will have seen the fact that I play predominantly the combat-esque deck.
Right.
Barring the few times where I've done the Saga campaign with Ted where I've focused either on hobbits or questing, I've generally been a combat-focused deck. Mm-hmm. Whether that be with Grimbjorn, my Dunhir Duckshoot, the latest one I've been playing lately is Leadership Irma, who attack into the staging area, who is a phenomenal hero, by the way. There is just so many different choices to make.
Yeah.
And as for would I wither away and die if you took Grimbjorn away with me? away from me? No, I wouldn't, but I wouldn't be very happy with you.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say it's like you don't know what you had until it's gone. Like like
I know what I've got
you
with
didn't.
Grimbion.
Well, no,
He's
but the thing is,
perfect.
I guess what I was gonna say is that like before he was released, you didn't know that you needed him, and then now that
True.
you have him, you're like, oh, I needed this guy. Like he is great. I mean, you guys know that I'm like, if I was going to pick a deck, it's going to be a Hobbit deck. I just love the Hobbit. Secondly, I would pick Sylvans, but when I look at the results, it's just so varied that like the biggest slice of the pie is somebody said 5 people said a support deck. So it's just like, it's not even fair to ask you what people say, like. But there is one that is fair to ask what you say. And so let's talk a little bit about traits. So this is, what trait is your favorite trait? So, Ted, without much explanation, what is your favorite trait in the game? And then I'll ask you what you think the community's favorite trait is.
Right. Okay. Probably the steward trait.
The steward trait. Okay. And so what's the community's favorite trait? Burglar.
Probably the burglar trait.
The burglar trait. Everybody's playing a burglar deck. Must be burglar. Woes. What? Like
Woes trait. Very
pony. Like what?
Yeah. My favorite trait. Probably. There's a lot of really great archetypes, but
remember, it doesn't have to be a racial trait. It could be a.
that's what I'm saying. Like, actually, I think it's a warrior, because
could be warrior or noble. Right.
Decks. Right. And I always build it around his warrior trait. Then his other traits are granting him new ones. And the warrior allies are all generally very strong. They're very combat focused and have a great stat line for attacking or defending.
Right. Okay. And what do you think the community said is their favorite trait?
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna say it's gonna be wrong, so I'm gonna go with dwarf.
Okay, I'll tell everybody why I'm laughing in a minute. Grant, what's your favorite trait? What do you think the community said?
My favorite trait's Beyonding, as if that's any surprise.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Community's favorite trait, I'd probably say Rohan.
Okay, so of course I always going to say my favorite trait is Hobbit, but it was spread out all over the place again for this. But the 2 most favorite traits, there was a tie at the top with 11 people each. Ted, I was laughing because the favorite trait is Sylvan. And then also Noldor, the other elf trait. Right?
Yeah.
It's so funny. Warrior did make the list. A couple of people said Warrior. And then Beornings didn't make the list. Yeah, one person said Beornings. So somebody joked around and said the Archer trait, A couple people said Ents, Eagles.
Oh, yeah. Ents and Eagles are, I could see that. Yep. Definitely people naming those.
Right. And Gondor is on there. A couple people, five people said it.
Okay.
But it's again, this is one of those things that it's like all over the place. There's so many different traits in the game. Yeah. But so for Sylvan and Noldor to each get, 11 people to say it, that's good. But, there's also Rohan is up there. Ranged, somebody said, is a trait. That's not really a trait. I guess it's a
keyword technically,
but yeah. But I mean, we get the idea, right? So, like Ents, Eagles, Rangers, Istari, somebody said Warrior. A couple people said Warrior, but anyways, Gondor.
I like this Scout trait, and I wish it got more development. It just doesn't have much development. It's got like 3 cards.
Right. Spirit Aragorn being one of them, right?
Yeah. There's like a couple of there's like one or two attachments, and there's like a handful of events actually that interact with it, but like not enough.
Right. Okay. So last but certainly not least, I asked everybody again about traits. If one trait could drop off the face of the earth and you wouldn't miss it, which one would it be?
I have an excellent answer for this.
Okay. So, Ted, what's your excellent answer?
Master.
Oh, that's funny.
Master trait, which is the one ring, and I think all the cards associated with it are all master traded, all the attachments and events.
They are. That actually, there were a couple people said master, but it wasn't on the list per se. There was one that was big, but it wasn't huge. Again, there's so many traits in the game. Like when I asked the question, I didn't want to limit people to what I think those traits are. So I just opened it up.
Course.
So, so Grant, if you could get rid of one trait in the game, what trait would you get rid of?
Steward. There's just absolutely no need for that trait.
That's funny because two people did say steward, so you guys did that. What do you think the community? Thinking about the community, what do you think the biggest one in the community was? And again, this was still not a huge percentage of the community. It was only about 9% of the people who answered. But
Dwarf.
no, dwarf. Well, some people said dwarf, but it wasn't a ton.
Yeah, I wonder if people were thinking of, like, when they read this, like, thinking of big mainstream traits that, like, if they went away, they wouldn't miss it. So I could see, like, Dale is a really excellent trait that came out late in the game, but I could see that if someone thinking to be like, oh, you know what, if Dale went away, I wouldn't miss it, even though it's a very developed trait.
Right. Oh, definitely.
I'm gonna say Dale.
Dale, okay. Grant, do you have anything that you think the community would have said?
Pony.
Pony. Pony, 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 pony. No, that's not how that song goes, right?
I have no idea, mate.
Billy Idol, Moni, Moni. Sit
Right.
down, come around, Moni, Moni.
Alimony. Yeah, oh, sorry, that's a weird parody.
Yeah. The number one trait, even though it wasn't number one by a bunch, was Outlands.
Oh,
There's still a lot of Outlands hatred for what happened when the Steward Sphere came out.
You see, I don't understand the Outlands hatred. If you don't like Outlands, don't play them.
I know.
But there's no reason to hate upon a trait. I mean, it's a trait that gives
Trait
you
hate.
access to so much. Unlike, so if there was cards that worked with the Steward trait, I wouldn't be panning the Steward trait.
Right.
But because it's like the Archer trait, there's nothing that goes off the Archer trait. Why even bother having it?
Right. Right. That actually was also up on the list. There was, 5% of the people were like, get rid of the Archer trait. But what do you think of that, the Outlands, Ted? What's your reflection on people choosing Outlands to get rid of?
What was the first? I mean, it was a really developed trait very early on. It's like they did, dwarves was like the first really developed trait. And then they kind of like, okay, we're gonna do Gondor, kinda. Here's leadership Baragond, excuse me, Boromir and Baragond in the same box.
Leadership Baragond. I was like, when did he come out?
Leadership Boromir, and then also more heroes coming out like Baragond, and then boom, Outlands, and it was just instantly powerful and super good. So
I was gonna say,
it changed the meta of the game to where the designers had to start it's like they designed it to help players play the game, and they said, well, this kind of helps players too much, so now we need to kill it through various board state effects and mechanics and triggers. So I think it made this weird game state.
It's funny because I think, and this is my own take, and I don't know if it's, popular, unpopular, whatever, but I think I think that the Outlands thing had to happen. Okay, so I think you had to have a deck in a box, basically, is what they did, and they've done that since. So Outlands, the Steward Sphere, most of the Outlands characters came right in the Steward Sphere, and then like later on, they did the Dale archetype in a box, and they did that with the Arid Mithrin cycle, the Wilds of Rovanion. That was basically the Dale archetype in a box. But I think that they had to do it. But I also think that if you got into the game, if you're getting into the game now, you're not thinking anything crazy about Outlands because it's just another strong archetype if you build the deck right.
Yeah.
And I think the game was naturally going to go towards having to squash those ally swarms. I think that was like, so if Outlands didn't exist and, it was one of those things you had to collect over a couple of cycles or whatever, like I think it would have been fine, but I think the game would have naturally progressed to, doing 1 damage to, to all your allies, which it had from the core set, but like getting rid of all those things, or the anti-swarm thing, because dwarves still existed.
Right, that's true. Dwarves are already swarming from the previous cycle.
Right. So I think that the Outlands originally got, and I've listened to all the old podcasts about it when Outlands was first released, and everybody was like, I think that it left a bad taste in people's mouth because it was just like all I had to do was buy this one adventure pack, and now I have, a really powerful deck right from the very beginning. And I think that was fine to do from a marketing standpoint, and I think that that's fine to do now. I think it left a bad taste in players' mouth then because of what they had to do to get there. Like, we went through 2.5 cycles, or like 3 deluxes and whatever to get to the Outlands. But I don't think Outlands is necessarily now any, like, Outlands is Outlands. It is what it is. Like, it's fun to play, and it's it's not necessarily a hugely powerful deck. It can be, but so can hobbits, and so can Beornings, and so like everything can be. So yeah. So
are stronger than the Outlands deck, honestly.
Which one's at or stronger than the Outlands deck? Did you say? What was your first say? What was the first part of what you just said? I didn't hear it.
Oh yeah. There are other archetypes are honestly just as strong. Dale is just as strong. It's going to put up high willpower, and still have strong defenses and things. Noldor is really strong. You can put allies on the board very quickly, with Aristor and Círdan and Arwen and to the sea. So you're right. At this point in the game, it is just another archetype.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing this game when this first came out, and this archetype first came out, and it was definitely a powerful archetype. But at the same time, it was something that I think was a good archetype. I don't think it was necessarily too overpowered, because obviously you had to pull them out, and yes, they're cheap allies, but obviously they are very squishy with only 1 hit point. So it swings in roundabouts. You've got to have them all on the board to get like insane benefits. If not, if you're just running, like, if you've just got 1 on the table, it's not really an issue because it's just a squishy crap ally.
Right. Yeah. And I think that naturally it would have happened no matter what.
Definitely.
So I think the initial shock is done and over with, and now nobody even talks about it anymore as being, like, I think it's just a fun. I have a Grey Wanderer Heirloom deck that I really enjoy playing. So I don't know.
I did have a Theodred, Corrigan, and Halloween deck that I enjoyed playing. I don't actually have that deck listed anymore because it was before I was using Rings DB. So
Right.
over the years, that got lost through computer moving and reformatting and what have you. But I always had fun playing that deck.
Exactly. Well, I think that exhausts everything that we wanted to talk about on this show. Talk about some traits, what we'd get rid of, what we'd keep, deck
Great.
types,
Popular
allies.
Spirit allies.
Yeah, I mean everything. So
Of course, we never get to cover everything. A lot of stuff we didn't mention. Unsung Spirit allies. There's quite a few of those. But yeah, like check out the full list. I guess the moral of the story is, just try things you haven't tried.
right.
That's the way to go.
Exactly. So, I will encourage you to do the opposite of what Ted did for this podcast. So, continue to try this podcast and join us again next show as we talk about events and attachments from the Spirit Sphere, which probably won't surprise very many people, but we have some other things to talk about as well. So join us again as we talk about more superlatives in this month of February. Have a great day, everybody.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.